There are 4 areas where people fail at their DOT physical. Now, if you're not familiar with the DOT physical, it's the Department of Transportation, and this is the physical that you have to pass in order to have a job driving certain types of vehicles. Commercial vehicles, that is, and the whole purpose of the physical is to make sure you're physically fit, able to do your job and do it in a safe way. This is a problem because if you're not physically fit to do it, you're going to lose your job. You lose your job, you're in deep trouble. So the 4 areas are your blood pressure, your BMI, blood sugar, and illegal drugs. So we're going to cover some ideas that I have for you to pass the physical. Now, some of these ideas I have for you are not exactly the healthiest choices in the world, but we're talking about keeping your job. And if you start typing already and saying, oh, well, that's not healthy, well, then lose your job. But I'm going to help you. So here we go. Number 1, let's focus on the blood pressure first. The blood pressure is the major problem because you're naturally nervous. You go into the doctor's office for this physical. They usually rush you in. The nurse puts you on the table. Your feet are dangling. You've already rushed in. They put the blood pressure, sometimes on the wrong arm, over the clothing, and lo and behold, your blood pressure is too high. This isn't going to work for you. So here's my ideas of how to control this situation. Number 1, ask the nurse if you can have a couple minutes to just relax, because you need to inform her that the blood pressure test that you're taking is supposed to be a reflection of your resting blood pressure, not your hyper-excited blood pressure, not your blood pressure right after you ran into their office and jumped up on the table. Of course, your blood pressure is going to be higher at that point, so you need 5 minutes to just relax before she takes your blood pressure. You need to demand that. The second thing is to do, in that 5 minutes, some deep breathing exercises. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The benefit of this, if you do it slowly, in a relaxed fashion, taking slow, deep breaths, you're going to create a situation where you're, number 1, you're going to relax. Number 2, your body is going to produce a gas inside the arteries that are going to help dilate and relax the blood vessels. This gas is called nitric oxide. Our body naturally makes this, but it can be enhanced through deep breathing exercises. So if you get the nurse to give you 5 minutes, you take that 5 minutes and you just slowly relax and deep breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, you're probably going to have lower blood pressure. The third thing is you're going to plan in advance for this test. If you normally drink coffee in the morning, let's say you're on a diet and you've heard that drinking coffee accelerates the speed with which you can lose weight because it stimulates your metabolism, or you need to get up and go, do not do that the morning of your test. The reason why is because coffee has caffeine in it, and caffeine will constrict your blood vessels, increasing your blood pressure. So you're screwed. Number 4, if you smoke cigarettes, don't smoke the morning of your test. You can smoke 3 packs later on if you want, but in the morning of the test, don't smoke. The reason why is because cigarettes will instantly raise your blood pressure. The 5th thing is to have the exam 3 hours after waking up. Next thing with the blood pressure is to do the exam about 3 hours after you wake up. The reason why is because you can take supplements such as magnesium supplements. You could take L-arginine, L-citrulline, and these are things that will relax your blood vessels and lower your blood pressure. All right, so that's number 1, blood pressure. One of the reasons why you could fail this test. The next one, number 2, is your BMI. What the hell is a BMI? A BMI is a ratio between your height and your weight. What it essentially means and what they're looking for is, are you too fat to do your job? Are you significantly overweight? And a lot of people fail their DOT physical because they're just too fat to do the job. So here's some ideas. Number 1, take the test as early in the morning as you possibly can. Now, I just said in a moment ago, 3 hours after waking up. If you can get the test done at 7 o'clock, then definitely wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But you will stay recumbent as long as possible. The reason why is, interestingly enough, we are taller in the morning than we are in the afternoon. The reason why is because the spinal discs in our spine are pressurized. They have fluid in them. And as gravity starts to compress down on our spine, there are 23 discs in our spine. And if each one loses just a millimeter, 23 millimeters is almost an inch. The reason this is important is because if they measure your height and measure your weight, a way to manipulate the BMI would be to be taller at the same weight. A good example of that would be if I weigh 150 pounds and I'm 5'8", my BMI is different than if I'm 5'9". So a person who is 6 feet tall that weighs 150 pounds, their BMI is different than a person who is 5'2" and 150 pounds. Get my idea? So you want to have them measure you when you're the tallest. In addition to that, when they measure you, stand tall, stand upright, become taller. Many of these testers do not actually think about this, but they don't have you take your shoes off. Wouldn't it be beneficial to wear some shoes like some Hokas or Altras that have a pretty thick sole? So when they measure you, suddenly you went from 5'10" to 5'11 and a half. This changes your BMI. So the height is one factor, but your weight is another factor. Now, it's very difficult to change your weight right at the moment. However, if you know your physical is in a week, you could possibly go on what's called a ketogenic diet. Now, depending on the algorithm and depending who's watching this, a lot of people are on the ketogenic diet. It's a kind of a quick fix, fast way to lose weight in a week. In addition to that, some people find that because they have over 150 pounds to lose, they could stay on the diet for a long time. My experience with most patients is they have a hard time following it. And the reason why is because you have to eat a lot of fat and they just can't take it. So you eat bacon and eggs and avocados and oil and saturated fats and steaks, a lot of fatty meats, that type of thing. Well, one of the things that happens initially when you start the ketogenic diet is you lose a lot of water weight. So it's not uncommon for some people, depending on your weight, to lose 7 to 8, 9 pounds in 1 week. So again, your BMI is based on a ratio between your height and your weight. If you were to grow an inch, inch and a half and lose 7 pounds in 1 week, your BMI might be in that range where you can keep your job. All right, so the third reason why people fail at their DOT physical is their blood sugar. You're diabetic. Well, what can you do about that? Well, first of all, if you're already diabetic, make sure and take your medications. So many people forget to take their medications and then their blood sugar is high. The second thing is, like I just said, with a ketogenic diet, you're not only going to lose weight, but you're not putting any carbohydrates into your diet. It's very common for people doing a ketogenic diet to limit the amount of carbohydrates they eat to about 20 grams per day, which is just an insane amount of carbohydrate limitation. The benefit of that is your blood sugar is going to have a hard time going up. Your blood sugar is not going to be high if you're not putting sugar into your pie hole. So you can stop eating sugar for a week prior to the exam, and your blood sugar is very likely going to be normal for that test. The fourth and final reason why people will fail their DOT physical is because of illegal drugs. So I don't even know why I have to explain this. Maybe you shouldn't do illegal drugs. Maybe there's a reason why we're doing these DOT physicals, because if you're using illegal drugs and you're doing this job, maybe you should be fired. However, some drugs are in your system longer than others. And I've known many patients who have lost their jobs because they didn't realize that the drug of choice is in their system for longer than they think. One of the best examples of this is, and I don't know if I should say it, but let's put it this way, because I don't want the algorithm to turn off my video, or I don't want to get in trouble, if you know what I mean. By the way, there's a members only thing, so if you want my unadulterated opinions on things, there's a members only. You can go down and become a member. Nonetheless, this drug is legal in California and Oregon and Nevada and Colorado, but other states it's not legal. But the federal government has no idea what to do with this drug. So it's a federal crime if you do this drug, but it's not a state crime. In fact, it's legally in the state, which welcome to America, right? But here's the thing. If you have a job where you are traveling from one state to another, it may be legal in one state, but illegal in another. So this is where this is important. And I've had patients who have done the drug and not realized that it stays in your system. Even a component of the drug, when you extract the one that gives you the good feeling, but keeps the other extraction that helps you sleep, if you're just using it to help you sleep, and they catch it, they assume you've done the entire drug. So don't do illegal drugs before your test. So these are the 4 reasons. So these are the 4 things that you can do to help yourself so that you can get working, keep the job, and these may not be the healthiest choices, but they work to get you to pass the test. I would encourage you to try to think long-term and maybe try to become healthier in the long term and pass the test with flying colors without ever having to worry about it. That would be ideal. So at the end of the video here on the right side, I'll put a thing of how you can control your blood pressure naturally without any drugs or prescription drugs. So watch that video. That'll help you for the long term. But in the meantime, I hope that this has helped you.